Tommy Rex, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now, here's your host.
The Sonic Temple Art and Music Festival returns May 14th through 17th with My Chemical Romance, Tool, Bring Me the Horizon, and Shinedown. Plus, Pierce the Veil, Good Charlotte, The Offspring, Sublime, Godsmack, Breaking Benjamin, Marilyn Manson, and so many more. Sonic Temple in Columbus, Ohio, May 14th to 17th. Passes on sale now for as low as $1 down at sonictemplefestival.com.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle. And looks like today we're going to take a little road trip with Dallas from the band Narcotic Wasteland. What's going on, man?
Oh, nothing much. I'm actually currently headed down to South Carolina. I got some stuff I got to do down there. And yeah, it's a nice sunny day. I know the weather is about to get really bad, so I've got to get down south and take care of a couple of things.
Gotcha.
But all is good. I've been very busy teaching students and doing tablature and getting more tablature ready for the website, and also doing a lot of rehearsal for the upcoming tour.
Nice. And where are you driving from right now?
I'm driving from Michigan down to South Carolina.
Oh, okay, man. Yeah, man, take it easy. How are the roads looking?
Pretty good. I did see a couple of kind of crazy accidents. I don't get it nowadays, man. Like, you just see stuff where you're just like, how did you even do that? Like, that doesn't even make any physical sense, like how you got yourself in that position, you know?
Like, born and raised here in Cleveland, and it's not my first snowfall. It's like, how do we forget, how to like park and drive when a little bit of snow falls down,
Oh yeah, not shit. I'm from North Carolina. Hell, I'm from the land of milk sandwiches, and I can drive in this stuff no problem. If I had my pickup truck, I'd be having some fun in the snow right now, going sideways.
Yeah, gotcha. Hey, so usually when I have people on for the first time, I like to get a quick background. So going back to childhood, as we were talking about, do you remember what you originally wanted to be when you grew up?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely wanted to be involved in music in some way, shape, or form. Ever since, even before I picked up trying to play anything like guitar or drums or anything like that, I was dancing around, singing into brushes, and all the standard sort of cliche things that people do. I remember having anytime I was around a piano or anything like that. So I've pretty much always known that I wanted to play music and spend most of my time awake working on music and playing music.
And what were some of those early influences as a kid?
I would say a lot of the usual suspects. Black Sabbath, Uriah Heep, Deep Purple, Rush, even King Crimson, and a couple other, even some Genesis, ZZ Top. Of course, the Beatles, all the rock, we all grew up on all the rock, and I was really getting into drums at that point, and so I learned a lot of rock and roll songs on just drums, and that was kind of my beginning of getting serious on an instrument. Anyways, I was probably about probably between 8 and 10 years old when I started really getting serious about drums.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was going to ask you when you put the brush down and picked up an instrument.
I could play a little bit of guitar. My grandfather had showed me some things. My dad had showed me some things. My cousin showed me a couple of things too. But I never really taken that seriously, and I was really gravitated towards drums at that time. And I would say about 13 or 14, I started to get more serious about guitar. I started listening to more Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and Metal Church. I think it was really that first Metal Church record. I was just like, I want to learn how to play some guitar.
Nice. And then as you started, taking that more serious and growing up and stuff, when was it that you started finding like-minded people in your area and got out playing?
It didn't take very long, actually. I remember my neighbor introducing me to another guitar player, and he was pretty good too. And then we started hanging out with some other dudes, and it just ended up starting my first band, I guess, when I was 15 or 16. But then we rehearsed for almost 2 or 3 years before I would basically allow us to play a show, because I just wanted everything to be really solid. Then after that, it started kind of writing my own stuff, started getting into that.
Nice.
But this is still very late 80s, early 90s at this point. So, things were changing, and my influences were changing, and what I wanted to do as a player was changing. Late 80s, early 90s, my vocals, for instance, were much different. Back then, I was more like, no! That was what we were doing in the 80s.
Yeah.
I love that stuff to this day. But as the guitar playing got more complicated, I just was like, well, this is kind of carrying the melody now, and it sounds pretty angry, so fuck it, I'm just going to yell at people. Yeah. Just like you would in shitty traffic,
Yeah. And then what was the music scene like in your area growing up?
It was pretty cool, man. I mean, I didn't know what the hell was going on. I was just a teenager, but there was definitely a lot of other talented young individuals in the area that when we were either playing in bands together or we were playing shows together, and it was shit, man. It was a much different ball game back then. And my very first band from high school was playing in front of 300 and 500 people.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Was that Lecherous Nocturne?
No, that was in the mid 2000s.
What was your high school band name?
It was called Severin, and then we discovered there was already a band called Severin, and then I changed it to Deucalion, which has to do with Greek mythology. Deucalion, it could be pronounced either way. And that was my high school band. And then I joined another band with a very good friend of mine to this day. I haven't heard from him today, but by the guy named Ed Rome. I joined his band, Teratosis, and we were together for a while. And then I left that band and reformed Deucalion, and then he came and jammed at Deucalion with me, and, local band type shit.
Gotcha. So when did Lecherous Nocturne happen for you?
I think they got their start in the mid 90s, early 90s. And then, I had been at Nile for a good minute there. And and they needed a drummer, and Carl actually let me know that they needed a drummer, and I had recently acquired a new drum set because I wanted to get into some freaking blast beats, man. I was jamming with guys like, I did album, I jammed with Pete Hamore, the original drummer from Nile. I jammed with Derek Roddy in the studio. I jammed with Tony Loreno, and then ended up, and then just being around guys like this inspired me to kind of get back in the drums for a minute. And after the second U.S. In Their Darkened Shrines tour, I had a little extra cash in my pocket, so I was like, I'm going to buy a fucking drum set. And I still have that drum set. I don't play it very much. My drummers play it more than I do.
Nice.
But, I got back into it and ended up doing the Lecherous Nocturne Adoration of the Blade album, helping those guys kind of not necessarily arrange the songs, but figure out what the hell the drums are supposed to do, because those guys kind of had no idea what the drums were supposed to do to this chaos that they were kind of writing. And, so it was fun. It was a way for me to get back into it. Of course, guitar ended up pulling me back again, like it did growing up. And then, guitar is my baby, man. I actually got one with me here with my travels. I got one of my BC Riches.
Nice.
Because tomorrow I am teaching a couple of more guitar lessons.
Gotcha. Now, so then when did take us back then? Like, you were playing in the local scene, like in front of 300 to 500 people. But like, when did you connect with like Nile?
That would have been 97. The scene had kind of dried up where I was at. There really wasn't even places for a band to play, let alone rehearse. I mean, it was getting kind of scarce, and everything turned into strip clubs. You know what I mean? And it was that kind of thing going on. And but South Carolina, actually, thanks to a couple of key venues, kind of kept metal alive during that, and definitely had more of a scene going on than what I was used to where I grew up. So yeah, I joined Nile in 97 and moved down to Greenville, South Carolina in 97, and was in the band until 2016. But that was kind of it. It was like I just felt like I was kind of stagnating, and Nile wasn't really on a major label or anything like that at the time, but they had put out some really great sounding records and some really cool music. And I was like, these guys are serious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These guys really actually want to do this. And, so I am kind of the same way. I mean, I just, I knew what I was getting into when I was getting into it. There's no guarantees. There's no guarantees in life anyway. I mean, whether you're running a business of your own or trying to be a musician or, trying to, get into bull roping or whatever, it doesn't really matter. It's all a gamble.
Yeah.
Life itself is a gamble. It's like, should I even cross the street to the grocery store today, or will I just get killed by a falling plane out of the sky? I mean, it's kind of just got to go for it.
Yeah. But what was like that, going from playing like local venues and moving down there and trying to take that gamble with Nile? What was that transition like, actually hitting the road and touring for you? Like,
we were just excited, man. All the other bullshit didn't mean anything. We wanted to play music, and we wanted to play music for people that wanted to listen. And nothing else really meant anything. It didn't really matter. We were all, just kind of high as fuck, but not on drugs. We were high on the we're out. We're actually doing this. We're going from town to town and playing metal, you know. And it's still to this day the way I feel about it. Like it's one of the. I'm so lucky at 51 years old that I'm still doing this, you know, and enjoying it, feeling the same way about it. It's like, cool, man. Where are we going today? Oh yeah, we're going to go to Cincinnati or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm actually in a Cincinnati traffic jam right now. That's why I say that. And I was actually thinking on this trip down south, I was like, man, it's been a while since I've actually played in Cincinnati. It's usually Columbus or Cleveland. Um, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What but like, you know, with Nile, I mean, you got to get out there and play like some of the major festivals and stuff as well. Got what was that like, you know, for you the first time?
Well, it was very exciting. And just having that realization of how alive rock and metal is, you know, my first time ever in Europe was a very wonderful situation for all of us. We played Dynamo Open Air Festival in 1999.
Nice.
And it was insane. Yeah. It was insane. Not to mention the fact that I got to see some killer bands that night. Nevermore's Dreaming Neon Black had basically just dropped. They were there. Overkill was there. There was so many bands there. I mean, that's just like a couple of the ones that I checked out. And then, of course, we played there. And yeah, it's just amazing to this day to see how you know, how strong and alive this whole thing is, man.
And then you guys got to play like some of the Ozzfest as well. Like what was you got any good Ozzfest stories?
Ozzfest 2007. Yes. A lot of cool stuff. I remember on part of that we did an interview with the Dean guys, Dean guitar guys, Dean Zielinski. But also, notably, our bass player at the time mentioned when he got off that tour, his kidneys hurt. It was a wild party, and you know, you're just kind of you're in a cage in the back, like with a bunch of tour buses and a bunch of crazy fuckers. You know, it was a pretty wild time. It was a good time. Got to see some pretty interesting bands on that. Behemoth was on that tour. We already toured with those guys. It was cool to see them. Doth was on there. That was the first time I had heard In This Moment. They were on there. I thought they were pretty cool. Cool people and put on good shows. And of course, I got to see the man Ozzy a couple of nights, you know. And he was actually really kicking ass on that tour. And yeah, that was a fun time. And
yeah, awesome memories.
There's some very sort of fragmented memories of that tour.
Gotcha. And then let's bring it present then. When did you know, let's talk about putting Narcotic Wasteland together. Like what was the inspiration for the name?
It was the first song that I had written for the band. It was called Widespread Narcotic Wasteland, and I had started working on this stuff that was a little bit more like the stuff that I was writing and coming up with in my earlier years. You know, more normally tuned guitar, only a half step down from standard. And I was just kind of getting inspired by this more sort of almost retro thrashy kind of sound. And I was working on these, I was writing down these lyrics about, you know, just being the observationist that I am. I was seeing things Well, not even just seeing things, but experiencing things in life. And I was just kind of seeing my neighbors and my middle class around me, and or whatever class, kind of deteriorating. And it's not the normal thing that you would necessarily would come to mind, especially with everything going on now about that deterioration. A lot of people are going to say that it's the, it's the economy, it's the oligarchy, and all that. And all that may be true. All that's probably very true. But the other thing is the addiction to pharmaceuticals sort of destroying our working class.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, this would be cool to kind of write a song about that. And then before you knew it, I had like 4 or 5 songs, but they weren't all about that. But they started to develop a theme. Like I think the 4th or 5th song I wrote for Narcotic Wasteland was called "Alcoholic Religious Fanatics," and it was just about the hypocrisy of it all, of how you can just go be like a heathen all week, but then get forgiveness one day a week, on Sunday.
Yeah. Oh
At
yeah,
your
I used to live that life.
show where everybody's, dressing up all pretty and getting into all kinds of stuff that will probably end up on a Forensic Files episode, just to give you the depth of the hypocrisy.
Yeah, I used to run around like that as well. That dry erase board on Sunday would wipe away all the crap I did Monday through Saturday, and then I start all over again the next day, right?
Yeah.
Now, with your first album, I don't know, was this, when did Delirium Tremens come out?
That released Halloween Day, I believe, in 2017.
And sticking kind of with the theme of what we're talking about, I noticed on that album there's a track called "We Agnostics."
Yes.
And that stood out to me because I'm now 16 years sober in recovery myself, and there's a chapter labeled that in a certain book that I go to. What was the inspiration for that song for you?
Well, it was kind of the sort of frustration of being, because that chapter is for the agnostics. Because when you're talking about, Alcoholics Anonymous, you're talking about, there's a time where spirituality and God comes into play. So the chapter basically explains that it's more about the higher power and less about some sort of God that's, basically like a mythology kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm personally agnostic myself, so I'm not really a believer in God. But the song depicts a person who is so fed up and so frustrated. The higher power is the whiskey. And they end up believing in this God because it can actually bring them to the ground and control them. So, in a way, it's, I would say, in a way, with my own struggles, it's probably self-reflective. But I don't know. There's just the whole situation with the way society can treat alcoholism and how unfair that can be, I think maybe brought up some rage in me a little bit. Because, people who have addictions or alcoholics or whatever, they're not necessarily like bad people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there was always this sort of stigma attached to you. Oh, they're an alcoholic. Oh, that's like, Go fuck yourself. How about that? You know what I mean? Yeah, maybe I have a problem, but it doesn't, I still take care of my fucking business, and I'm not all up in your business, and you know what I mean? I'm a law-abiding citizen, and my body, my choice, and fuck you. You know?
Yeah.
And it's kind of my philosophy on it. And congratulations, by the way, on being sober and stuff. You know, all that stuff is kind of, let's just say that there's a comedian that I saw. He was like, he had quit drinking, and he put it in his comedy routine. He was like, you know, I didn't quit drinking because I was just, you know, solving too many problems in life. You know, I wasn't solving too many equations and all that. You know what I mean? Like, so
yeah, exactly. And then, you know, well, yeah, I mean, that stuck out to me, and then the title of the album and everything as well. But like, so being on Megaforce Records as well, like, what was you know, going off and starting putting this project together and getting on Megaforce Records and building this new brand? What's that been like for you?
It's been a hell of a ride, man. You know, we did have the sort of pandemic thing happen, which I hate to even continue to bring up at this point because everybody's probably sick of hearing it, but it definitely changed the dynamic on a lot of things, and things haven't been quite the same since. But you know, in the, you know, we toured as much as we could to support the 2 albums that we had, and then, you know, the pandemic kind of shut everything down. So during that time, I just continued to write songs, and I actually started taking lessons and giving lessons on guitar. And then after everything opened back up in 2021, we started to really get some serious offers for touring from our agent. And I was like, well, hell yeah. You know, we didn't really get much of a chance to solicit the band like we initially intended. So it's just been a good opportunity. And again, I'm very thankful, and I feel very lucky that I have the health and the stamina to play this stuff proper and sing it the way it needs to be sung, and that there's people actually that will come and see me and play and all that. I'm very grateful and thankful, and you know, the crowds are just growing, and now we've got this opportunity to go on a really killer tour with my buddies in Belphegor and in Incantation coming up. So very excited about that. Hard work pays off, you know what I mean, on whatever level. And, you know, for me, accomplishment is to become a better songwriter, a better musician, and kind of like a better person, you know.
Yeah.
That's kind of my main goals in life.
I wanted to ask you about the single "Victims of Algorithm," like the inspiration behind that.
Yeah, well, you know, me and Joe, well, I had this song, and I had an idea for it, and hadn't really fleshed out all the lyrics just yet. And it was going to be about how, you know, these phones, these devices, and social media, and everything attached to those devices is kind of like becoming the new epidemic drug.
Yeah.
And how people are just kind of hooked on, you know, social media and their phones. They barely look up at the sunlight anymore. You know, they're just all down on their phone. It's kind of like the new addiction. And so, you know, I was telling him about that after showing him the song demo. And he had a set of lyrics called "Victims of the Algorithm." And I read them, and I was like, well, this is kind of perfect, dude. Okay. So, yeah, we tracked it. the song had already been pretty much fully recorded otherwise, and it just needed vocals on it at that point anyway. So
Nice.
it was a very cool collaboration. I'm very proud of the song and the meaning of it, and the kind of old school thrash vibe that the riffing has, but it's kind of grindcore in the drum beat territory. It's got some blast beats. It's a fast song.
Yeah.
And it's cool. It's got a lot of attitude, and I like it because it is a little bit of a departure while staying in the same sort of thematic wheelhouse, if you will. It kind of branched off on some other things,
Yeah, gotcha. Now, if I was reading this correctly, you're still working on or getting ready to release a forthcoming album, Digital Cordyceps. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What's of course that caught my eye as well. What's the inspiration for that title?
I think in a way, in some ways, the same inspiration there was for Victims of the Algorithm. I mean, Digital Cordyceps. It's like it is kind of the new control. It's the new drug. It's the new hell. You're probably better off doing street drugs than you are social media. It's probably more fun. Anyways, it's kind of within that theme, but the song itself, Digital Cordyceps, is one of the ones that will end up being obviously on the album. We've released 5 singles since then. This album has been slated to come out for several years at this point, but just because of the pandemic and having a couple of lineup changes and having the tour opportunities, I decided that, yes, let's solicit the band and get the band on the road a little bit more and hold off on the full album for a little while, release some singles, and just but keep pushing it, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I tell you, man, after I left Nile, a lot of people just thought I dropped off the face of the planet. And there was this one interview where I got kind of misquoted, where it was like the guy was basically making it out to look like I was giving it up for the family life and I wasn't going to do music anymore. Yes, I definitely had some obligations to my family that I needed to figure out, but I always figure that out.
Yeah.
So that kind of threw everything off. It wasn't like I was totally just not going to play music anymore. That's absurd. But yeah, just been growing it, man. And yes, we are definitely putting out new stuff this year. We've got, actually, I'm waiting on a mix right now for a couple of things.
Well, kind of like what you were saying too, how the pandemic changed the game and things. It's like streaming is such a big thing now than waiting for an album release. So it's like some people just release singles, to be streamed in today's environment. I miss the good old days of vinyl and sitting down and listening front to back, and enjoying the artwork and stuff. But you still got that option sometimes, but it seems like the whole industry's gone towards more like the streaming of the singles and stuff.
Yeah, and now that I've gotten some other things in place, because it can be a large sort of stone to chip on and to chip away at, and what I really ultimately want to do is both. I want to get us in a position where we can put out freaking killer quality album that's just front to end, just great metal. But then also release singles.
Yeah.
It's kind of the way it is, and it can be frustrating. But I decided to, that, like they say, live, adapt, or die. And I choose to live. So if that means I got to, do whatever, teach lessons or do playthroughs on a YouTube channel or have a social media presence or whatever, a lot of people are very irritated and reluctant about that, and I was at first too. I was like, well, this is bullshit. Not only do I have to write this music and tore my ass off and try to do what I can on it, but now I got to dance around on social media like a fool. But, the good news is it's fun. And the fun thing is it's just another way to communicate with like-minded people that are into that kind of music. So it's the format that's changing, and we have to change with it. And that's just the way it is,
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people, I really hate reading anything where, somebody's talking about, the cost of touring and blah, blah, blah. They're just complaining about shit. I can't stand that. Like half you guys, if you guys were jamming with me, you'd have quit 20 million years ago, Just stop. Just be happy with what you have and realize that it was always about the music anyway. And be happy with what you get,
Yeah, exactly. Now, going back to, you touched on it already, the tour, you got Praise the Beast North American tour coming up. It'll be hitting the Cleveland area on February 23rd at the Mercury. And like you mentioned, touring with Incantation and Belphegor. What can fans look forward to on this tour?
It's definitely going to be a night of complete metal mania. And Hate's on that bill as well. They're a incredible band. I've known of them for quite a while now. Polish band. And of course, I've known Incantation for a really long time. I've known John for a really long time. The first time I met John was actually in, I believe it was February or March of 1998. Oh, actually, I take that back. I met him one time very briefly in 1995. But we weren't about to be on tour with each other. So, but yeah, Nile and Incantation toured in 1998 together. And so I got to meet John from Incantation then. And then we ended up being on a Morbid Angel tour with Incantation. And then fast forward years later, we were on a tour together in 2005 in Europe. This was right when Annihilation of the Wicked came out. And then I think we were on another tour together, but we would see John now and then on festivals or whatever like that. So also toured with Belphegor in Europe before, so pretty familiar with those guys as well. I think one of my favorite albums by them is Pest Apocalypse. I think that came out in like 06 or 07. That's a really good album from them. Anyways, looking forward to hanging out with some old friends and making some new ones always.
Yeah. And Incantation's got a good following here in Cleveland, as I'm sure, like you mentioned, you played here several times, so it should be a really good show. Good turnout.
I remember my first time in Cleveland. That would have been the Ohio World Series of Metal. I think in 98.
Nice. Was that the Agora Spotlight Productions?
Yeah, that was the Agora, and we played in the bar.
Nice. Yeah, it's old school. It sounds like old Mitch Mitch from Spotlight Productions that used to put the World Series of Metal shows on.
Those were fun, man. That was good times.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Still miss
Well-
Peabody's. I hate that Peabody's isn't around no more, but I always loved the Agora too.
Yeah, I miss Peabody's too, man. Many blackout memories there from back in the day, but it was but they always took care of you there, you know? It was a good time.
It was a cool place, and I always liked how it sounded on the stage because it was very heavily carpeted. So I would always have a good night because I could really hear the details of my guitar just because there was carpet on like the walls and the floor, and it was very dead on the stage. And I always enjoyed playing there. It was always a good time.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, well, Dallas, before we get ready to wrap up, man, like for any fans out there that want to see what's going on with Narcotic Wasteland and catch you coming through their area, where would you send them?
Well, I would just definitely check narcoticwasteland.com. Check out our socials. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook and all that social media stuff. We post over there pretty regularly, and the tour flyer is over there as well. And if you want to check out merchandise, you can definitely check out the Season of Mist website. There's some shirts over there. But if you come out to a show, we'll obviously have some stuff as well. And hell yeah, and thank you.
Awesome. No, thank you for the time, man. Real quick, I want to ask you a couple questions I normally ask guests that I have on here before we wrap up. 3 people who have inspired you and you can credit for making you the person you are today.
Making me the person that I am today. Not necessarily the musician that I am.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel like I need to thank my mother. So I'll tell you what, I'll thank my mother. I'll thank Douglas Adams, one of my favorite authors. And as far as musicians, I think all of them. Anybody from Neil Peart to James Hetfield. Fuck. Thank you.
Nice. And then favorite toy as a child, other than the brush.
My favorite toy as a child, man, that's pretty tough. I guess bicycle may or may not classify as a toy. I spent a lot of time on my bicycle. It might have to be one of my old Radio Shack video games I had this helicopter game from Radio Shack. And actually, if you go on TikTok, this is very interesting. If you go on TikTok, you might see where I have this handheld video game called Space Crusher from Radio Shack. Well, I have you know, in Saline, Michigan, there is a Radio Shack still open.
Wow.
So I took the game in there and ordered some batteries for it. The game totally works still. It's fine. But man, they tripped out. They were like, wow, look at this thing. I've had the damn thing since like 1983. You know? It still works.
Nice. And then any message you have for our military members currently serving overseas?
Oh, please get your asses back as soon as possible. And I love you. And because my son, actually, he did 6 years in the Air Force. He's out now. He's just working on helicopters. But yes, I love you, and please get back safely.
Nice. Awesome. Dallas, one last favor before I let you go. It might be tough, but you were already kind of giving us some of those pipes while driving. can you cut a promo ID for the show? Just introduce yourself, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
Boondoggle?
Yep, Boondoggle.
Okay. This is Dallas from Narcotic Wasteland, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
Awesome. Dallas, man, thank you so much for your time, brother. It was great talking with you. I hope see you in person next month here in Cleveland.
Yeah, man, definitely hit me up, man. I could probably just get you in, you know what I mean?
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. Drive careful.
I will. So far, everything's been pretty uneventful, and I've just been kind of taking my time. I've got quite a bit of a drive, so. Hell yeah. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right,
Alright! Listen up! Hold on to your seats! Grab your girls, grab your beers!
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Anthrax, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now, here's your host.
I am Monty Heath, so one Heath, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Skillet, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle on Domain Cleveland Radio.
Fasten your seatbelts!